love to start by talking to you a little bit about a healthy sitting position. And, you know, we cellists, we spend our entire lives here. And what words do you have for us that will be helpful?
I think it's a great place to start, Paul. And again, thank you for the invitation. Like an office worker who sits in front of a computer screen all day long, or a line worker in a warehouse or what have you, what we're talking about is ergonomics and being able to position your body in an appropriate way to resist the strains and sprains, if you will, of sustained static positions is really kind of what we're talking about with this. Specifically with cellists who are sitting while they're trying to play their instrument. Similar to an athlete, the actual game situation is not so much what we're worried about, but more so the hours of practice time that goes in to prepare themselves to, take the concert stage.
Hopefully we could take the good habits that we learn in the practice room out onto the stage.
Exactly. Yeah. So, when we talk about being in a good neutral spine, relaxed posture, you and I have talked a lot about tension that builds up, especially within the upper body. Mm-hmm. And I think we also both recognize a lot of that starts from the ground up. Mm-hmm. So when in a sitting position, we oftentimes will see individuals that are sitting like I am right now into what we typically refer to as the 90-90 position. My knees are at a 90-degree angle here, and my hips are at a 90-degree angle with my torso. That position isn't ideal for sitting posture because is not. I feel it kind of locks out the pelvis a little bit and restricts motion. And the last thing we want to do is restrict motion when you guys are playing and practicing. So this position right here, though manageable, I think, for short amounts of time, I think it's more ideal for us to try to elevate the height of our hips and get them a little bit above our knee height. Which will in turn allow us, with a nice base of support, to steer our body while we're playing the instrument, and also be as efficient as we can be with the instrument, between our legs, power coming up from the ground, and allowing us to tilt that pelvis forward a little bit, maintaining a neutral spine position. We don't want our students playing in a rounded position, which will close off the upper body, limit flexibility of the shoulder girdles and arms, and could lead to injuries down the road.
So you don't want us to drop down into this position?
Absolutely not. Yeah, I would like you to be able to maintain an upright position. Mm-hmm. We refer to it as neutral spine in the clinic, mm-hmm. and it involves a few other things, drawing in the belly button so that we can help to support the core as well. And if you can sustain that position and everything else is relaxed, your mobility is going to be at the highest level it can be, which theoretically should allow you to practice longer and play longer with a decreased risk of injury.
So I like to talk about, sometimes I talk about feeling that there's a thread here pulling you up, but the main thing that I'm interested in is that one comes up enough that there's a little bit of a S or indentation in the base of the spine.
Yeah, exactly. So our spine, as you know, has a natural curve to it. We want to try to maintain that curve. We lose the curve when we slouch and slump, and we also don't want to overcorrect the curve either. That could also, overcorrection in the wrong direction can also be detrimental as well. So maintaining the curve is easier when we have the hip slightly higher than the knees, as we do with this chair right here. From here, my hips are a little bit higher than my knees. My feet, with a nice wide base of support, allows me now to kind of control movement just by pressing through my right leg to move to the left, and from my left leg to move over to the right. And again, having the instrument in front of you like this, allowing my pelvis to tilt a little forward, mm-hmm. maintaining that curve of the spine, mm-hmm. which allows me to stay neutral.
So just describe the difference in the way you feel now and what you're able to do from this.
Yeah, so
when you're just a little bit.
So lower. From here, it's a fairly subtle difference. So my motion right here is very free and unrestricted. When I come back over into the chair here with that 90-90 position that we mentioned earlier, it tightens things up a little bit. Tension is part of that equation just because of the physical position of the joints. Mm-hmm. Just by opening up the pelvis a little bit, by widening the base of support, and having your knees slightly lower than hip height, it opens you up and creates more of an ease to maintain this position I'm in right now.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, what I feel when I get on a chair too low, I actually cannot feel the S in the base of the spine.
Sure, you're losing that lordosis is what it's called. That curve that you're feeling down there actually flattens out because your pelvis is actually falling into a posterior tilt. So it's all connected. And when you sit in a
from the legs being
yeah,
up too
when
high
the
here.
knees come too high. So and that also is going to happen if you're in a chair that's too soft as well. It's going to encourage you to sit and slouch and slump, which in turn is going to close those joints off a little bit. And when we're down in this position like this, as we talked about in class the other night, it's going to limit your ability, even with your upper extremities, your arms, to have freedom of motion there. As I slouch here, I can only go up so high until I feel restriction. If I sit up tall, good base of support, I now have so much more motion and there's so much less tension.
So you get freedom of the upper body by a little higher chair and where you put your legs?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
interesting. So for cellists, I guess what I would want to say when I see you sitting that wide here, that might be a little bit too wide for our instrument, but it's the way actually pretty much the way I sit. So what I do is I find this base of support, which gives me freedom and power in the chair, and then I just let my leg fall in a little bit like this, and now I've got
You can hold the
I
instrument.
can hold the instrument, yes.
Makes sense.